Hello, today we will recap a drama romance movie, in which a teenager falls in love with a woman, and hugs her daily. Before we start, please subscribe to our channel for more such amazing recaps. Spoilers ahead, chill out and enjoy. The movie starts in Berlin, Germany, in 1995, with a scene of a man named Michael Berg, preparing breakfast for a woman with whom he had spent the night. Michael informs her that he will meet his daughter, who is coming home from abroad after a year. We learn here that Michael is a well-known lawyer, who is divorced and has a daughter. Michael walks over to the window after the woman has left. He observes a tram passing by. He recalls his story after seeing this, and the film then goes into flashback mode. When 14-year-old Michael returns home from school one day, his health begins to deteriorate unexpectedly. Michael begins vomiting after only a short distance of walking, because he is ill. Hannah Schmitz, a 36-year-old woman, arrives and assists Michael in standing up. She then assists him in returning home. When Michael returns home, his father advises him to see a doctor. Michael is diagnosed with scarlet fever, and is advised to stay at home for the next 3 months. When Michael regains his health, he tells his mother, "On the day I became ill, a woman came to my aid." His mother instructs him to express his gratitude to her. He returns to the location, where he first met Hannah, to express his gratitude for her assistance. Hannah doesn't seem interested at first, but then asks him to accompany her to work. She requested that he wait outside. As she changes her clothes, Michael peeks through the door to see her. Hannah notices him spying, and Michael flees in shame. He's been silently observing her since then, but hasn't had the courage to approach. He returns to Hannah's apartment a few days later to apologize to her. Hannah requests that he fetch some coal from the basement. When he returns with the coal, his clothes and face are dirty. Hannah informs him that he cannot return home in this condition. Hannah suggests he take a bath. Hannah observes him silently. She removes her clothes by herself and hugs Michael. She tells him that this is exactly what you were looking for, and that's why you've been interested in me for so long. Then he clapped her for hours. As time passes, Michael begins to drop by Hannah's house for hugging every day after school. They had finally exchanged names after so many days. Hannah asks Michael what he is studying at school. Michael mentions that he is studying Latin and German, and also suggests Hannah to read a poem that he finds interesting. Hannah, on the other hand, tells him that she would rather hear him read the poem. She specified that Michael must read her a poem every day, and only then will she hug him. Days passed, and Michael continued to read literature to Hannah. They begin to spend more time together, and their bond strengthens. Hannah and Michael are slowly but steadily falling in love. Michael decides to sell some of his stamp collection one day, in order to fund a trip. They eat at a restaurant for lunch. She informs Michael that she will eat whatever order Michael places, after noticing the menu card. Later, however, the waitress believes Hannah is Michael's mother. Michael kisses Hannah in front of her to prove her wrong. After lunch, Michael takes Hannah to a church. Hannah thanks Michael for inviting her and is glad to be there. Michael informs Hannah that he is working on a poem for her. When Hannah asks him to read it to her, Michael says it's not finished yet. Hannah is promoted by the tram company the next day, and is now working in the office. However, she is unhappy with the promotion and becomes agitated. Hannah interrupts Michael's attempt to read her another poem, and begins fighting with Michael for no apparent reason. Michael is also irritated because it is his birthday, and Hannah did not even bother to ask him how he is. Michael declares his love for her, but Hannah pushes him away and slaps him. Michael notices Hannah's frustration. Then they hugged one last time at her apartment. When Michael was in school, Hannah vacated her apartment without informing him. Michael suspects something is wrong and rushes to her apartment, only to discover she has left. Michael is heartbroken and has no idea why Hannah rejected him. 8 years later in 1966, Michael, now 23 years old, is studying law at Heidelberg Law School. As part of a special seminar taught by his professor, he takes Michael and the other students to observe a trial of several women. These women were accused of letting 300 Jewish women die in a burning church, when they were SS guards on the death marches, following the 1944 evacuation of Auschwitz concentration camp. Michael is shocked to learn that Hannah is a defendant. All of his buried emotions surface for Hannah, and he can't stop thinking about her. It is revealed on the day of the trial that Ilana Mather, a young Jewish survivor, has written a memoir about how she and her mother escaped the concentration camp. When Hannah was questioned about it, she admitted that she knew Auschwitz was an extermination camp. She also admits that she and the other SS guards would choose 10 prisoners at random, and execute them in order to make room for new prisoners and prevent overcrowding. Hannah would select prisoners, who were physically weak or less able-bodied, and send them to their deaths. When Ilana arrives at the court, she recognizes Hannah and the other extermination camp guards. Ilana also reveals that Hannah chose her prisoners in a unique manner. She would randomly select a female prisoner, and ask her to read her a book in her office. After that, Hannah would send the prisoner to their death. Rose, Ilana's mother, reveals that while marching to Auschwitz, they decided to spend the night in a church. However, an Allied forces aerial bombing raid accidentally hit the church, where more than 300 prisoners were sleeping. Prisoners attempted to flee the burning church, but were unable to do so because all doors were locked. Despite having the ability to release the prisoners by unlocking the doors, the SS guards, including Hannah, did nothing. All of the prisoners died that night, except for Ilana and her mother, who miraculously survived the fire. When Hannah is accused of being responsible for the incident, she vigorously denies it, claiming that she and the other guards decided not to open the doors together. The other defendants, on the other hand, later turn on Hannah and accuse her of authorizing the church incident. The prosecutor even produces a document with Hannah's signature, to prove that she was in charge that night. The judge requests that Hannah provide a handwritten sample of her signature, in order to compare it to the signature on the document. Hannah, on the other hand, abruptly comes clean and admits that she did sign the report. After watching everything, Michael discovers Hannah's biggest secret, that she is illiterate. She wanted to avoid a job promotion at the tram company, that would have revealed her illiteracy, so she joined the SS. Michael approaches his professor, and claims to have information that will assist one of the defendants. Michael is unsure of what to do, because the defendant is ashamed to share her secret. His professor tells him that if he has learned nothing from the past, the seminar is pointless. Michael then goes to the prison to see Hannah, but he changes his mind and leaves before she arrives. Hannah is sentenced to life in prison, for her role in the church deaths on the final day of the trial. The remaining defendants received prison sentences of 4 years and 3 months. Michael finds success as a lawyer after earning his law degree. He marries his classmate Mart, and the couple has a daughter named Julia. However, after a few years, Mart decides to leave him because he remains emotionally distant. Michael returns to his childhood home one day, and discovers his books and notes from his affair with Hannah. He then decides to record some of those works and sends the cassettes, as well as another tape recorder, to Hannah in prison. Hannah is overjoyed to hear his voice and immediately recognizes it. Michael continues to send countless cassettes to Hannah, who listens to the recordings on a daily basis. Hannah decides to borrow a book from the prison library one day, because she wants to learn to read and write, by following along with Michael's tapes. After a while, she begins writing to Michael, thanking him for sending her the audio tapes. As Hannah's literacy improves, she requests that Michael send her more audio tapes. Michael continues to send her audio tapes, but he never writes back. Michael receives a phone call from the prison warden one day, informing him that Hannah will be released soon due to her good behavior. Because Hannah has no family or other relatives, the warden requests that Michael find her a place to live and a job. Michael decides to help her and travels to the prison to see her. Hannah is delighted to see him, but Michael appears distant. He informs her that he has found her an apartment and a job. When Michael asks Hannah what she has learned from her past, she says she never considered what she did before becoming an SS guard. The dead are still dead, and it makes no difference what she feels or thinks right now. Hannah commits suicide by hanging herself in her cell after Michael leaves. When Michael arrives at the prison on the day of Hannah's release, he learns of her death. Hannah leaves Michael a note and a tea tin containing cash. In her will, she asks Michael to give her life's savings to Ilana, because of her horrifying experiences in the concentration camp. Michael later travels to New York, where he meets Ilana. Michael confesses his past relationship with Hannah to her. He also reveals that Hannah spent the majority of her life illiterate. Ilana, on the other hand, rejects him and advises him to go to the theater, if he is looking for the truth, claiming that the camps teach nothing. Ilana refuses to accept money but keeps the tea tin, because it looks similar to the one she had before being sent to the concentration camps. Michael suggests donating the funds to a Jewish welfare organization that works to fight illiteracy. In the present day of 1995, Michael reunites with his daughter Julia, who is now 21. He takes her to the church he and Hannah visited on their bicycle tour. Michael then takes her to Hannah's grave, and begins telling her the story of their lives. So this was the story of The Reader, released in 2008. If you liked the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.